Okay, good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock and welcome everyone to the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee meeting for the month of May. First of all, we'll just call for apologies. I don't believe we have. We do have Councillor Brown and St Pierre on Zoom this morning, so welcome to you both. And other than that, there are no apologies. So we'll move on to the disclosure of members' interests. Do we have any this morning? No disclosures, good. Any late items? Nothing. Right, moving on to the confirmation of the order of the meeting. Can we have a mover and a seconder, please? Everyone's happy with that. Mayor Susan and Councillor Gordon, all in favour? Carried, thank you. We'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes from the 4th of April. Any changes? Yep, Lou's happy to move. Roger's happy to second. All in favour? Are there any queries around those minutes? Claire's looking comfortable on Zoom land over, yes, good. And a mover and a seconder, please, that those are now true and confirmed. I will ask for, yep, we've got Councillor Brown and Councillor Thomas, all in favour. Carried, thank you everyone. All right, so we're moving on to our first item for the day, which is our fees and charges for 2023-24. We've got our submissions and deliberations to work through, so we'll ask Graham Pollard, staff member Graham, to come to the table. Thanks, Graham.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Worship. Good morning, everybody. So the fees and charges for 2023-24, we've reached the stage of we've had 19 submissions received. Nobody has asked to present their submission in person this morning. So we'll leave, Chair. We can move straight into considering the submissions.
Okay, that sounds good. Perhaps what we'll do is we'll work through the summary, which is on page 44 for everybody. That way we'll be able to ensure we don't miss anything. So working through those, I think, will be helpful. So we'll give everybody a moment just to get to that page. And Graham, if you'd like to just work us through those summaries, please.
Yes, certainly. The first couple under the building control section, the discussion we had, you'll remember at an earlier meeting regarding the inclusion of marquee inspections. We've looked through that in greater detail, and we have included a note in the building control fees that marquees over 100 square metres floor area require a building consent and therefore require inspection, just to make sure that everything's fine and the health and safety and everything is okay. This is under section 8.5 of exempt building work guidance from MB.
Thank you, Graham. So I'll open the floor up now for any comments around that particular item. So Councillor Pettit.
Yeah, thank you to the Chair. Thanks, Graham. So just to confirm, it's actually effectively legislation is why we have to charge this, is that correct?
It is effectively, it is guidance issued by the Ministry on this. So for anything over 100 square metres and in place for no longer than a month, if it's in place for no longer than a month, it doesn't need consent. Over 100 square metres, it does. So it's not exactly the most straightforward piece of legislation, but the 100 square metres floor area is the key dimension in this.
So whether it's up for a day or 29 days, has to be a fee?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, that's my understanding.
All right, and just how do we get to just going through the other fees and charges, which it looks like we charge our staff quite often at around that $180, $182 an hour. how do we get to the sort of mid 900s as a fee for that?
Oh, now I'm afraid you are asking the wrong person on this one. I'm not the budget holder in building control, I'm afraid.
I expect that it's a combination of a site visit, but also the paperwork following that.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm still struggling to get to north of $900. I guess my real concern here, and I guess I have an example of it, of a wedding that I know is coming up. And when these folks got wind that there's going to be a charge of $950, they were 50-50 where it was going to be, Waipa or in the Waikato region. And straight up, that was the decision made. So $40,000 is not coming into the Waipa economy because of this one decision or this one fee. And and I know weddings is only a part of how marquees are used, but for young couples, $1,000 into a wedding is a big amount. I'd just like to find a way around this. For our ratepayers, I think this is just nonsensical. It's people are going to see this, as I do, as just a grab fee. There's no advantage in it. If you could sit here and tell us that there's been issues around health and safety, tents blown away, etc., and it's documented and evidenced, I'd probably think differently about this. Yeah, I'll leave it there. So I really am opposed to this fee as it sits at that amount particularly.
Okay, I could probably speak to the health and safety side of things, and I see Wayne has come into it. I can give you two examples in my last 6 months where a marquee over 10 by 10 metres flew away and we narrowly escaped injuries.
So that would have been consented. You would have paid for that. Absolutely. So it made no difference.
So all I'm saying is that checks and balances are really important. But where the issue arises is the strength of the wind. So if you've got it all comes down to the environment and the weather conditions. So there's never a perfect world, but when the wind gets up and the marquee, if a marquee has been not, erected by professionals, I would have some serious concerns for people's safety. So there needs to be a check and balance for anything over 10 by 10 metres, in my opinion. I'm not querying the fees, that's separate, but in terms of having an inspection, I would be very concerned if we didn't have that in place.
Yeah.
So perhaps we'll ask Wayne to, he's just going to take the microphone now, and we'll let him just perhaps he can add something to the conversation. So I guess we want to just be really clear about these two separate issues here. One is just having an inspection, and then of course the fee attached to that. Okay, so it's a separate thing. Thanks.
Well, good morning, everybody. So I've got Leanne here, and she's obviously the expert in relation to the building control area. So as I understand it, any marquees under 100 square metres, there is no building consent, there is no fee. Anything over 100 square metres, there is the possibility of people applying for an exemption. The fee there is $178 for consideration of the exemptions, and exemptions may well be granted if they meet certain requirements, and Liam can just talk a little bit about that. So that's where we're sitting in relation to marquee fees. Perhaps if you can just talk a little bit about what your inspections are for marquees over 100 square metres, and also just touch on the field days marquees as well.
So as Wayne's just touched on, and you were doing a very good job at explaining, there's two things under the Building Act. There's what's called Schedule 1, so certain builds and type of building elements fit into that, and that means you don't need to apply for a building consent. That's kind of what MB have written into the Building Act. So marquees under 100 square metres fit into that Schedule 1 exemption. So anything over that, there's two, I suppose, methods that customers can do. They can apply for a building consent, so that goes through the building consent process and steps, or they can apply for what's called an exemption for a building consent. And that goes through kind of a formal review process. So depending on what information the customer submits, It would come with engineering drawings, kind of their methodology for how they construct them out at different sites. Then we would assess that information and decide whether we granted that exemption from the building consent or not. For example, for a long time now, Field Days has a blanket exemption for the marquees out there. So that's kind of working in partnership with Field Days that we've done. We've done an assessment on there and then we give them a blanket exemption out there. So although not every time there's an event applying for 100 building consents kind of out there, we kind of work with them on that.
Yeah, that sounds like we've got a really sensible, common sense approach to this anyway, Leanne. So I think that sounds like you've worked through a lot of this over time. Mike, did you want to add something?
Yeah, all right. So that was news to me, and I would suggest probably news to a few around this table. So that's really good to hear, actually, that there is a possibility. Blanket exemptions, I'd really like to know how that would work offline. After your first comments around having to give design and all the rest of it, that's a pure marquee, I would have thought. But all right then, if this fees in there, I think we at least need to put that the word exemption can be applied for. So it's actually up front for people to be able to see that. Yeah, and then whatever the criteria as it is. Thank you.
Yeah, under certain conditions, and most of that is around being professionally erected. I think that's the key to this. we wouldn't want to give any indication that there's any leniency around that. So, Lou, did you want to mention something?
Yeah, thank you very much for your chair. I totally agree with what you're doing here. I do just think there needs to be a clarification. Having organised events like touch rugby and sevens, we can't control what people bring as tents along to those events. We have some of the bigger clubs that might have a larger construction. So we can try and get an exemption, but we don't know what's being created until it arrives on the day, which makes it a very difficult situation for us.
Appreciate that. Don't you love the element of surprise when you're managing events, Lou? Monty.
Where does the exemption fee fit into this schedule of fees and charges?
Yep, we just found that just before the meeting, and you've got to scroll down, and one second. So here we go. It's page 58 of your agenda, and you'll find there one of the descriptions, third one down, building consent exemptions. Exemption for requirement to obtain a building consent under schedules 1 and 2, and the hourly fees and charges hourly rate.
Just through the chair, but can we make it explicit in that particular area of the marquee thing, so people can refer to that at least?
Yeah, we can add an extra note at the end of the building control section there. As we,
I have found
on the one we've added already.
Just to give people some comfort, my kind of experience as well. This team here are very, very good at providing the information around what an exemption is. So actually offering the exemption if it doesn't feel like it's worth an inspection. So over the phone, that can be clarified really quickly. So even if the person didn't know there was an exemption on offer, I know that it's readily explained at the beginning of a conversation that is an option for them. So yeah, I've found that numerous times. Okay, we've got Andrew with his hand up. Andrew Brown, hello.
Hi, Liz. Yeah, thanks through you. I probably no answer to this either, but my question is, how is it that Waikato District has no fee for this?
I might be able to cover it off slightly only because I used to work at Waikato District. Their fees and charges, I believe, are calculated slightly different to ours. So they base their fees and charges from my time there on cost of work. So ours are more kind of set fees into defined brackets. So their fee charges are a bit of a different methodology to ours, I believe, unless that's changed in recent times.
Okay, I don't think we have a firm answer for you, Andrew, but yeah, perhaps it's a different type. Perhaps it's an actual time allocation. Yeah. Perhaps, who knows? We'll leave it at that, I think. Okay, are there any other comments around this? I think we've landed in a good place on this particular Yeah, point. So Graham, if we move on to the council room hire charges.
Certainly. Okay, so
Thank you,
the
Wayne.
request was for the room booking rates between the suite of rooms here that we're in and the Kaipaki room and the meeting rooms in Cambridge, as to whether to make those fees the same. Our property team saying that there's actually a difference in the services and the amount of space and the quality between the two suites of rooms. So they're suggesting that we don't make any changes to what's in the schedule already.
Okay, any concern around that? We're in agreement with that recommendation. I believe that that's pretty straightforward. Okay, moving on to curbside recycling.
Okay, the submitter wasn't very happy about paying more for the curbside recycling, with concerns about the standard of service that they were receiving. The cost increases are not to do with the level of service, it's just the increased costs that are in the system nationally. So the recommendation is to continue with the increases that are proposed. It just helps us to meet the cost of the contract.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think anyone's got any queries around that. Okay, libraries.
The main point on the libraries was the overdue fees that the library team are proposing to have 0 fees for returning overdue items. So these are the library fines, if you like. Not everyone has agreed with that. Obviously, they think that's just an incentive to keep the book forever. We obviously do chase people for items that are very late. There is research that suggests that this is a good move, that it does actually encourage people to bring the books back because they're no longer embarrassed about having to, in front of a queue of people, pay a fine. The question then really is whether we continue with the proposal to remove the charges or we put them back in.
So we have some good support here.
Remove those charges.
Yeah, to remove the charges. Is everybody in agreement with that? Joe's happy over there on the sideline, chair of the community board. Okay, good. All right, that sounds good, Graham. We'll keep moving through.
So we have a number saying exactly the same thing. New adult books. This is submission point 8.2. The new adult books, which are currently defined as 2 years from publication date, that there is a higher charge for those. The submitter asks that becomes just 1 year from publication date. That would put us out of line with the other libraries around New Zealand. So the library team don't want to step outside of that standard practice, and recommending that we just keep it as up to 2 years from publication date.
I think that sounds sensible. Everyone's happy with that.
Okay. The other point on that table of overdue charges in the schedule of fees and charges is that the last line was not about overdue charges at all. And in the initial draft that was sent through, someone had obviously put 0 against everything in that table. And then we realized later on that in fact lost and or damaged materials notice, we didn't actually want to remove that charge, which is, you can charge for the cost of the item plus the $10 processing charge. 2 submitters have asked for that to be reinstated.
Okay,
So
I think we'd
something's
probably
lost, we can charge them for it.
That's right. Lost books. Yep, no, fair enough too.
Yeah, okay.
No problem.
We have a number of submitters who just said, hey, good idea, thank you. We support what you're doing on the library fees, so we'll be thanking them for that support. The library community space, which is in the Te Awamutu Library. Now, there were separate charges for the hire of the room and for the audiovisual technology hire. You get the audiovisual technology in the room regardless. And through various administrative processes, that was becoming rather difficult. The proposal is that we act as a result of the submission that highlighted those difficulties, is that we just make one higher charge, which is for the room, and we add the audiovisual charges into that. So they're increased by $20 and $10, depending on whether that's a full day or a half day hire of the room, and you get everything.
Looks straightforward. Everyone's nodding. Let's keep moving. That sounds good. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you. And permits under the public places bylaw, that a couple of submitters were not very happy about the cafes having to pay more for their permits for street dining. And the fee increase for a renewed permit, I think, is, my memory serves me correctly, I can find it, through an increase of $3. So the recommendation is that we continue with that proposed fee increase under the public places bylaw.
Any contentiousness around this? I'm very comfortable with the increase, the small increase there. There is a cost, of course, to keeping the streets cleaned and things like that as well. So I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
And there's a $12 increase for new permits as well, but that's okay.
Okay.
To go with that. And the last point was a number of submitters who seemed to be opposed to the whole idea of fees and charges. If there were any specific fees that they were objecting to, they've not actually made that clear. And it might just be that in the economic climate, they don't think we should be charging fees. So they've just asked, presumably, for us to drop the whole idea. Funnily enough, our recommendation is to carry on.
We will continue.
But we do need to charge for our services in some way or another.
Of course. Okay. No. Thank you, Graham, for that outline. Are there any other comments, general comments, before I put the recommendation to councillors to adopt the recommendation that's in front of us? No? Nothing online? Great. Okay, so we've got recommendation A, B, C, and D. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Brown. And thank you, Councillor Thomas. All in favour? Against? Carried. Great. Thank you, Graham. Thank you for all that work.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors.
Right, we are going to move on to our next item, which is the Waipa District Council's draft dog control policy and bylaw for consultation. And Graham is going to stay in that seat because he's also going to be presenting this to us. So we do, I believe, have a bit of an amended recommendation here, which Joe will put up on the screen a bit later, but I'll let you introduce the item, Graham, and we'll move through things.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Chair. So this is following on from the fees and charges, sort of like an obedient puppy, walking to heel, seeking adoption for consultation of the draft dog control policy, the draft dog control bylaw. They are separate documents, as you are aware, and also the statement of proposal, which we've provided in an undesigned form. We do actually have just come through a designed form that we're still working through to get all the bugs and things out of that, but quite happy to just have a look at that later, just to see what it's going to look like, but it's looking really nice. The committee will be fully aware that there is a lot of community interest in this one. We could get quite a bit of stick thrown at us. you could even say we could get hounded over it. We do need to be aware that the consultation is going to be quite a big effort on this. So we're looking at putting up signs and having events and leaflet drops and things like that. So as well as the usual information on the website and Facebook and so on. As you will be aware, the community feedback last year was often split, evenly split between dogs on leash and off leash at particular sites. We are proposing some off-leash exercise at stated times on those sites. The rest of the time they revert to the default wiper position of dogs on leash. It'll be really interesting to see what feedback we get on those. We're also recommending restricting the on-leash exercise at the Kakapuku Monga to the lower area only, up to the water tanks, and we're really interested through the statement of proposal of testing that and a couple of other options like prohibiting dogs altogether or as per a dock type of permit. So it'd be interesting to see what feedback we get there. Other than that, I am happy to take reports as read and answer any further questions that we've got. We've got Diana here as well, who's been busily drafting both the main documents. So anything too legally technical, I'm going to throw that way.
Okay, you're right. No, thank you, Graham. Look, I see you've got a few questions. I'll start with Councillor Lou Brown and then Councillor Thomas, and Claire, I see you up there as well. So Lou, we'll start with you.
Just a little surprised actually that I see that the Te Aamuri Cemetery is not an excluded. You've got Hautapu and you've got Kiki excluded from dogs, but you haven't got the cemetery. There's not much facilities up there actually for dogs, you know, and there is a walking park just down on Chatsfield or at Ashgrove. I just feel that cemeteries are an important place to remember, and there's other places to walk dogs rather than cemeteries. So just a question why that was left off the system.
The question as to why, or the answer as to why, I'm not able to provide unless Diana's not already there, is it, in any exclusion? We'll need to think about that. That actually might be something that the Te Aamuri Community Board might wish to make some comment on during the consultation. That's but yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lou.
Be all cemeteries.
Yeah. Okay. We'll follow. Perhaps we'll just take it. We'll just give Graham a moment to have a wee look at that. So we might come back to that one, Lou. Just to clarify that. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Graham. I noticed in the proposed dog exercise area in the Pirongia Kakapuku area, the Stuart Reid Memorial Park is not mentioned in any manner in all draft or proposed. There are doggy do bins there already, and the dogs do exercise, but there's no mention, unless I've missed it.
So
Stuart Reid Memorial Park, Nahanapuri.
Right. Okay.
It's quite a big park and it's serving a big community now, but there's no mention of it.
Yeah, and I think I can answer that actually, because I don't believe it's council owned. It's part of the community's. It was gifted, that land some years ago. It is attached to the school.
It's supported by council though in many a manner. So I just wondered why it's not okay. It can be. I think all right, but council do support it financially and been supplied by council there. So that's why I just mentioned it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bruce. I think we should get another one to follow up on, because I think it's yeah, again certainly because of it's a sports field and it's connected to the school as well. My understanding was that it was actually dog on leash only, and that yeah. So anyway, but yeah, given we're not the current owners, we should follow that up on that one.
Yeah, just noting that we're looking for approval to consult in starting sort of the end of next week. That ties in with our annual newsletter to dog owners, and of course the dog registration invoices will be going out within that period. So this is this is timed to coincide with other communications with dog owners. Through the consultation and the submission process, any of these other locations, of course, that you want to query, then I'm quite sure that our two community boards would be only too happy to help put these ideas forward or put these questions forward, and we can deal with them then.
Yes, you're quite right, Graham. So we'll be able to, raise these. Well, our community will raise them. We'll be able to certainly do some further investigative work and bring that through the consultative process. Claire.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me all right?
Perfectly.
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's great. Thanks, Graham. I sent through some queries earlier about the definition in the bylaw that didn't seem to include a disability assist dog. It's got working dog, but it doesn't define working dog. And I was really worried that the bylaw is going to be out of step of our policy, which actually does have quite a bit of material there, with dispensations where disability assist dogs can go. Were you able to check that out? Yes,
through the chair. The Dog Control Act has a definition of working dog. I don't know about the disability assist dogs is also defined in the Act itself. So
okay.
Not actually in need of including it within the bylaw. But thank you for raising that.
So you don't think there's going to be any confusion because the bylaw doesn't have those definitions? They actually go back to the legislation itself. That's all. Yeah.
If we needed to apply them, then we've got them in the Act itself. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I just want to say congratulations on the great wording. It's very friendly and engaging. The consultation document. I guess you might be a bit too liberal with puns and that, but at least we're trying to get people to take an interest in this. It has a big impact on so many people that own dogs. So I just think it's great and fantastic that it's being able to be timed at the time, when all of the communications is going out, for registrations. That makes a lot of sense. So well done, team.
Thank you, Councillor, and I'd like to thank the communications team for putting that statement of proposal together. I will not take any credit for the puns in that document. All mine are entirely my own.
Okay, Councillor Brown.
Thank you through your chair. Quickly, Graham, I think it's absolutely essential to have what we call companion dogs, have the ability to go into public places and excluded places. And we actually fund quite a number of them. So I do know that these are a very, very important and integral part of some people's lives. So they have to have the ability to be able to go into parks and things that are normally excluded with dog control laws. So I think that wants to be written in and made adamantly clear that companion dogs do have that ability.
Sorry?
Did you have a response to that, Graham? Or
I'm sorry, I'm just wondering if Wayne's got a response to it.
yeah. What do you mean by a companion? I was going to ask that question too. Do you mean a disability dog?
When you have people with major disabilities, there are a number of dogs, we talk of the blind, of course, but we have those who have hearing problems and all sorts. They are using these dogs now in an important infrastructure. So it's part of their lifestyle. And what I just used the word companion, but you could use something that props it a little bit.
I think there will be a terminology in the Act. Diana's coming to take the seat. So so just so that we're absolutely clear that we're not including anything new. I think we're just referring in a different way to something that's probably in the Act. Yeah,
that's correct. So through the chair, so we have the prohibition on entering dog prohibited areas, but there's an exclusion to that, and that is any working dog entering the area for the purpose of working. And the definition of working dog includes a disability assist dog. So that would be a disability assist dog.
Lovely. Okay, thank you.
I can accept that, as I say, because we had a situation where with a bar where the chap was actually quite disabled, was unable to take his dog in, which he relied on quite significantly. So, you know, and he said, "Oh, you're not allowed dogs in within a bar area." And I thought, well, you know, it just wants to make sure that that facility is available to them.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Yeah, no, that's good. Councillor Coles.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and morning, Graham. Thanks for this. Just a couple of quick little questions. You mentioned Kakapuka and potentially a permit. Would there be a charge for that permit? One question.
At the moment, we don't have a system for that. That would obviously be one of our considerations if this was something we really seriously needed to entertain after we've seen the submissions, if we get any on this point. We don't have a system. We don't have all the sort of budget side set up yet. That's something we would need to consider.
So if you want to get a permit for a dog to enter a national park through DOC, there's no fee on that.
Yeah.
Nor the Kiwi adverse training for dogs as well. So, thank you. And then the second question, page 121, where you've got Schedule 1 dogs prohibited area, Cambridge, John Kirkhoff Park. It excludes the town belt pedestrian circuit track. I noticed a sign on that the other day. It looked a bit confusing that no dogs on that track, on the Greenbelt track, fair enough, the park, that's quite clear. So I might just kind of have another check of that when I'm in that area and come back to you on that, just to make sure that is clear. Yeah, which way. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there any other? Oh, yes. Sorry. Yep.
Just about the civil defence shelters. Is that a sort of universal across the country, or is this particularly Waipa thing that people are allowed to bring their dogs to civil defence shelters that are not, if they were otherwise prohibited?
I believe this is something that our team wanted. So I'm not sure if it's across the country, but it was thought that if you've got a location that's being used as a shelter, then you don't want to have to get a special exemption for it, because in an emergency situation, things move quickly. So we wanted that blanket exemption there if it's been used for a shelter, so people can bring their animals.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It was just an interesting one because it always comes up as an issue in a civil defence crisis, whether people take their dogs and whether you actually want an expectation that everyone's rocking up to a civil defence shelter with their dogs in an emergency. I actually don't have an opinion on it, but it's not a trivial subject.
I think there's a very interesting conversation to be had around that, but I also acknowledge that during emergencies there are people who will not leave their home without their loved pet, and that of course creates so it's a whole nother really interesting discussion to be held around that. And then where do you stop? Dogs, cats, llamas, whatever other animals people harbour these days. So anyways, Councillor Pettit.
Thank you, through the chair. And it may have just been in some other part, but there was a section of schools, and I just can't see it in here. Maybe I missed it, but that were prohibited for dogs. Is that?
All schools are prohibited.
Yeah, there was it listed all the schools that put there, because there was a kindergarten in there as well, for instance. Is that still on there?
Well, because that would be Ministry of Education or the school's name, so it's sort of up to them to determine what.
So that's just a blank canvas, basically. We start from scratch, is what we're saying.
Well, it'll be up to each individual school to determine what dogs can go on their property. So it's outside the scope of the bylaw. So that's why it wasn't carried through, because I guess it was more like a guidance note to say that these schools say X, Y, and Z.
So just to clarify, because I've got an association meeting tomorrow, if the schools did nothing, would they remain in the bylaw? Because they're written in there at the moment. Well, there's all the schools that are written in there, or would they come out? There's a right.
Yeah. So whatever schools currently have would continue. It's sort of outside the scope of the bylaw. So even though it was in the current one, it's sort of something for individual schools to determine for their properties.
Thank you.
So you're just coming back to that ownership of the land again, isn't it? So I guess that's keeping pace with everything else. Okay. All right, are there any other queries? Mike?
Just one pedantic one for Diana. A committee of council can recommend a draft bylaw for consultation, just checking.
Yes, that's correct, but they can't adopt it.
Yeah.
So
Cool, thanks.
Perfect. Okay. All right, everybody. So, yeah, I guess this has been a journey, of course, but we are now going out for consultation with the document as is. So I'm not hearing any changes at all. Marcus, did you? Oh, you're happy to move. So yeah, I was going to say that I understand there is, of course, an amendment to G. So that's just come up on our screen now. If we could just take a moment to ensure that everybody is happy with that. I'm presuming those online can see it. Okay, so if everybody's happy, if I can, I've got Marcus who's happy to move A through G and Councillor Pettit to second it. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for playing ball.
Now, we have a presentation from the Nahanapuri walkway group. Now, we are a little ahead of schedule, so perhaps we'll just give ourselves a couple of minutes break and we'll bring them in and settle them in shortly. So those of you that are online, just 2 or 3 minutes. Lord, there's so many of them coming in.
I just thought we were getting Michelle.
No. Okay, everybody, I think Zoe, are we ready to roll? Great, thank you. All right, hey, first of all, just a very, very warm welcome to our guests in the chambers today. So a lot of familiar faces, but I believe, well, first of all, welcome to Mark Harrop, who's the principal of Nahanapuri School. We've got Martin Reid, who's been very busy in Nahanapuri for some time, farmer from there. And we've also got Brian, yes, yeah, as well. So now you're all members, of course, of the Nahanapuri Walkway Committee, and I'd just also like to welcome the others in the room. We've got Felicity, Martin, Daniel and Mark. And yeah, so just like to a warm welcome to you all to speak to us about this walkway. So look, I'll ask Kirsty to introduce the item and then I'll be over to you to speak. So just remember to press your talk button when you do want to talk into the microphone. We've got a number of people online who are listening as well, so that's the reason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you've been provided with a cover report to introduce members of the Nahanapuri Walkway Committee who wish to make a presentation to the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee. You've also been provided as an appendix to this report with background to the work being undertaken by the committee, and that background information was shared with the council through the community engagement and feedback process on Ahuakia Waipa Community Spatial Plan. A number of the members of the committee also attended a community event that we had at Nahanapuri back in February of this year. And just to further note that the committee has also previously presented to the Pirongia Ward Committee at the end of 2022. And finally, just to note that the committee has been working alongside council staff, particularly from our Parks and Reserves team and also consents team. Thank you. So just understand that Mark is going to begin presenting on behalf of the committee, assisted by Brian. Thank you.
News notes. Tihei mauri ora. Whakawhitai kia iho mātua kore. Tēnā koroa ko rangi nui, kia runga ko papatōnuku ki raro. Manaki te mai mātou I tēnei rā. Ko tu heitea te kingi Māori, ko te kāhui ariki, pai mārie kia rātou. Ngā māte, haere, haere, hoki atu rā moi mai rā. Ko tātou te hunga ora e hui hui mai nei, ngā mihi, ngā mihi, ngā mihi nui. Ko Pirongia, ko kake poku, tēnā kōrua. Ko Waipa te awa tupuna, tēnā koe. Ko ngā apakura, te ngā iwi mihi nui. E rau rangatira mai. Ko te mea o Waipa, ko Susan O'Regan, tēnā koe. Koutou, ko te kaunihira o Waipa, ngā mihi mō te tono nei. Ko te kaupapa nui, ko te kōrero, ai rā te kōrero mō te ara hikoe mai I ngāhina pauri ki te awa o Waipa. Ngā reira, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, ngā kaiara taki o te ropi o Waipa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Here as the principal of Nahanapuri School, Mark Harrop is my name, and I'm here to add my voice to this wonderful project. We as a school believe this is an exciting opportunity for our children to get outside the classroom and do some real learning, be part of a real community project and do some rich outdoor education. We see it as an exciting addition to a growing community and something that we as a school 100% support and look forward to being a part of. So I'm here to add my voice to that and represent our school in this venture today. So thank you for having us. And I'd like to introduce Brian to take it to the next part.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Madam Chair and Mayor Susan, councillors and council staff. I'd like to also acknowledge our committee, which has been already done, but three members are absent today, and the most important person, our secretary, Michelle Templer. who we probably wouldn't have got to this stage without Michelle, a very capable lady who's had to give up that position. She's been offered a higher job. I am Brian Marcroft and have lived in Nahanapuri for over 8 decades. I've been involved in most community projects in that time, and I believe this latest project, the Mangahaya Nahanapuri walkway / trail, is one of the most exciting and also one of the most beneficial to the district. The vision of the Walkway Trail Committee is to create a walkway adjacent to the Mangahaya stream, starting at the end of Mangahaya Lane in the new subdivision, which is off Pilot Drive, and culminating in the Horo QQ Par site and Waipa River. The proposed route will allow for walking and biking through to Old School Road before becoming a boardwalk only through an established kaikatea stand, ending at a historic par site with views of Mount Pirongia and the Waipa River. It is intended that the walkway will be a valued community asset, enriched by information history boards, stories of the past, and preserving and enhancing the natural environment. To also provide a safe walking and biking area for families away from the ever increasing busy roads in our area. There is a high level of support for the walkway within the Nahanapuri community. Approximately 80 attendees at a public meeting before we got started. All landowners have expressed their support and commitment to the project to ensure perpetual public access over the land required. We have been working with New Zealand Outdoor Access Commission on this issue. Felicity Bro has been facilitating this enduring access. Felicity over here. New Zealand Landcare Trust has been instrumental in getting the best advice on designing and constructing a practical walkway. This work has led to an agreement to form a catchment group with a focus on track construction and restoration of the Mangahaya stream. We are also very fortunate to have Nahanapuri local Tikaka Keegan on the committee to support engagement with mana whenua and researching the early European history of the area. Our walkway consent was presented to the Waipa District Council Pirongia Ward, who have passed a motion stating that the Pirongia Ward Committee supports the vision of the Nahanapuri Mangahaya Walkway Committee to create a walkway for the local and wider community. It is our intention of our group to present to the full council for consideration of inclusion with the long-term annual plan. So the next slide, please, Daniel. It's already there. So you've got the slide up there, which is our goals at the moment. Our goals to create a community walkway, which is an enduring asset, to promote well-being, to enhance the walkway experience, to protect and restore the Mangahaya stream, to recognise the pa, the stream, the river, and mana whenua's history, to create connection and identity, and last, to work collaboratively with a large number of people. And the project is to establish a grade 2 dual use walking and cycling trail from Mangahaya Lane to Old School Road, approximately 2.8 kilometres. To establish a walking only ecological trail of boardwalk from Old School Road through to the Waipa River, 1.5 kilometres. Car parking is planned at the start of the walkway. It has already been completed, and where it intersects with Old School Road, which was the entrance to the sand quarry. Long-term focus is to restore the Mangahaya stream corridor with native planting create a circuit via Old School and Reed Road for additional safe walking and cycling, and look to extend the walkway where there is community support. You have a map there, probably most in front of you as well. So looking from my perspective on the right-hand side, where the yellow line finishes, if you go way up here somewhere, you come to Peak Lake Mangahia, which is up near the Villograd Winery and Restaurant. And it travels from there through several farms to go under Gillard Road, then from Gillard Road to Highway 39, and then into the connection with that yellow line. So the yellow line there, you've got Duncan Road subdivision above it, the golf course to the right-hand corner there, and where the subdivision is at the start of this yellow line. It then goes through what was the previous time a sand quarry, and you can see a road that touches the tips of the yellow there, that goes right deep into the area, and that was used by the trucks carting the sand. And that road is hopefully going to be lifted onto where the track is. So we'll have a metal track there. The yellow line stops at Old School Road, and when you cross the road, you go up the hill to those trees at the top, and that's the site of the original Nahanapuri school. Come back down, and the red line is the boardwalk that takes you right through to the historic pa and views of Pirongia and the Waipa River. So that's my little piece. I'll hand over to Daniel.
As one of the landowners of the bush section at the western end of the walkway, together with the vicars, I'm pleased to have the chance to present our cultural environmental focus for the Mangahia stream. The Finlaysons and the vicars have been neighbours for over 150 years. And for 120 of those, the bush corridor has been our shared boundary. We're excited, together with the other landowners and the community, to be able to support creating this fantastic asset and experience. As Brian mentioned, we're very fortunate to have on the committee, and as a trustee of a charitable trust, local resident Tataka Keegan, Associate Dean of Māori at the University of Waikato, who has a direct connection to local mana whenua. Tataka is leading our research into the pre-European history of the area, which includes the Horakiaku Pa, one of a number of pa sites along the Waipa River, and the Mangahia stream corridor, which connects up to the Mangahia Peak Lake with its own pa site. Settler history is more widely known and acknowledged. However, our experience and research demonstrates that the area was farmed and home to many prior to European arrival. The development of the walkway will encompass recognition of these histories and landmarks and provide a physical connection to the Waipa River. Learning about our shared history helps inform our future. We feel there is the opportunity for the walkway to become part, or a waypoint rather, of the Te Arawai journeys. And again, as Brian mentioned, collaboration is at the heart of our project. We are keen to foster involvement in kaitiakitanga to deliver this project. Regarding our environmental focus, we've formed a catchment group that will work to protect the established lowland Kaikatea forest, restore the Mangahia stream corridor with planting, and improve the stream water quality. The Mangahia source is the Mangahia Peat Lake, and the landowners in the upper catchment have expressed strong support for the project and to link their own significant works into it. We're working closely with New Zealand Land Care Trust, who are helping us to develop and implement the catchment plan, focusing on best practice and monitoring results. The trail is a key part of not only providing access to enable the restoration, but the inspiration for many to form a connection with it and to take an active role in the restoration, protection, and enhancement of the Mangahia stream and corridor. There is a lot to do. Pest and invasive weed eradication, planting, improving water quality. But we're not starting with a blank canvas. There are significant existing native plants and endangered species identified in our ecological reports, and the bush section has been fenced for many years. Now's the time to act to protect and restore and enhance another Waipara environmental corridor. I'd now like to hand it over to Martin Reid.
So what have we achieved to date? A very well attended community consultation meeting was held in Nahanapuri Hall, and as a result, a committee was formed. All landholders or landowners on the proposed walkway are part of this committee and have indicated their commitment to enduring public access via easement. We're working with Felicity Bro from the New Zealand Outdoor Access Commission to ensure access is achieved and individual agreements are connected and executed professionally to form a legal trail. Rick Balfour from the New Zealand Land Care Trust has been instrumental in providing essential advice, insights, and best practice examples for a successful project with a resilient, high quality community asset. And further, now creating a catchment group. Engagement with Mana Whenua is critical to this project to respect and understand their requirements and expectations. Te Taka Keegan is a huge asset for our committee, and we're excited to better understand the pre-European history of the land corridor past site Waipara River. This project will also provide meaningful access to the public. After positive discussions with landholders right back to the Mangahia Lake, we have extended our scope and intend to form the Mangahia Catchment Group. It encompasses all the objectives of the project, and we believe it is the right vehicle for delivery. A charitable trust has been established to administer and protect what we hope to become a significant community asset. An ecological report has been completed on the stunning bush section and a DNA report carried out on the stream. Both highlighted endangered species and native plants and the fragile nature of this area. The proposed route has been GPS mapped and sent to Heritage New Zealand. Discussions on best practice trail design and its walking, biking usage has been confirmed. So having formed a strong community committee, brought in some very clever consultants, established our goals and created a legal entity, our next key focus is that we are keen to get an in-depth design of the walkway done and establish the costs for this trail. We need to gain consents from private and council administered land and secure enduring legal access for the whole trail. We need to create a catchment plan and a project management plan. And we need to establish partners in regards to trail and boardwalk construction, weed and pest control, planting and enrichment options. Collaboration is at the heart of this project. We will work with community, volunteers, landowners, iwi, business partners, local and central government, and other voluntary statutory organisations, fostering involvement and guardianship to deliver this project. This has the structure in place. This has the buy-in from the landowners and local community, and now we're up to the doing stage. Hand you back to Brian.
What we need from Waipara District Council. First of all, the top request. We've changed the wording there to something that more securely says what it is, thanks to Felicity. We flagged to council the intent to secure enduring legal access for the trail over both private and council administered land using a walkway easement. We request that the walkway is depicted in the Waipawa District Council official plan. Flag to the committee that we would like to come back and make a submission to the long-term plan, seeking a council contribution to the walkway project. To work collaboratively with council to protect, restore, and create a quality recreational asset and experience. To be a long-term partner with the community in the ongoing care and development of the walkway. To support the charitable trust in applications for funding from other parties for restoration. So that is our presentation. I thank Madam Chair, Mayor Susan, councillors and staff for listening to us. Now, have you any questions?
Thank you, Brian. That was a pretty impressive presentation. So I'll open up the floor for any questions or comments. Mayor Susan.
Thank you, Liz. Look, team, that's impressive. I had a few notes here to say what are our next steps, but you've cleared those away, and what do you need from us? You've also cleared those. But I just wanted to say right from the outset that this sort of ticks all of our boxes at council now. It's a truly grassroots driven project, which is really impressive and quite breathtaking, to be fair. Promotes community connection, community collaboration, promotes physical activity, which of course is right on par with where we're heading to go as a district. There's clearly a maturation in terms of your ecological approach around Whenua Awa and biodiversity present, which is really amazing to see, and also that advancing improvement and escalation in that cultural and historical understanding around mana whenua and colonial history in that space. So look, it's just tick, 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 tick the boxes till literally the cows come home. So it's congratulations to you all for the really hard mahi and your vision, really, and your commitment, not just by way of land and time, but to actually see the project through. So I guess I just want to underscore our thanks to you for that. We don't see that level of developed thinking and commitment every day. So I just want to say, congratulations, and it's delightful to see. Some of us obviously crossed paths with you at our Hawaki consultation, and it was, I'll have to say, the project was new to me, so I was really surprised at how far down this track you've gone without really even coming to us, which is shows enormous initiative and strength and gumption. So congratulations. So just noting in terms of your next steps and then what you need from us, you've mentioned there you want to collaborate in order to create and maintain and develop the walkway, together with us supporting you with any efforts to secure funding. I think I can pretty much say off the bat that you'll get support for that from us in terms of that funding, those funding applications. And it strikes me that it would be foolish of us to not try and assist and accommodate your request around trying to ensure that there's enduring legal access across both our land and your land collectively as a community. So look, you have my full undivided support in doing that. So I guess having thrown the entire council support behind something unilaterally, I guess I should ask my colleagues, but look, just well done. It's really impressive. I'm in awe. Congratulations.
Thanks, Susan. I think we'd all agree with that. I see Councillor St. Pierre online. Your councillor for Nahanapuri, and of course, Bruce, you want to say a few words too?
Oh, look, I just have to, I guess I'm just going to echo what Mayor Susan said, actually, because to the rest of the councillors, like, this is just typical of the Nahanapuri community's, I suppose, standard of work for community projects. They've done amazing stuff there, and as you can see, that they've got the initiative themselves and are so committed. And I just take my hat off to all of those people there at the table. Brian, you're leading them, I guess, or Marty, but honestly, you're just superb operators, and I'm really, totally impressed with what you've done so far. Look, I was at the Ahuaki community consultation at Nahanapuri, and I would say that the message I got from the community there is they really want to see a cohesive, connected community where people know each other and feel like they belong. And a lot of them said that this walkway project is a way that will be delivered. And so I totally support this project as well. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'd be happy to move the recommendation to receive the report. And I really look forward to seeing more of your team as you develop that relationship with council to see this project take shape. Thanks.
Thanks, Claire. Bruce.
I was just going to start off by saying go Nahanapuri. I think it's fantastic. I like Claire have known about this for a little while, and we've been quietly pushing it. A question I had was, you've got unanimous landowner support. And those landowners are sacrificing a little bit of their land to achieve this. Are there any expectations from council for financially for anything? Or has that been or not talked about?
Would you like to answer that?
Well, sorry. Hello, kia ora. I'm Felicity from Herenga-Nuku Outdoor Access Commission. So you've got two parts here. You've got your physical trail and your legal trail. And we're working with the group on the legal trail, but you're looking for support for the physical trail, aren't you, Brian?
Yes.
Maybe you'd like to talk to that.
Not really. Would you maybe? No? You might know more about it.
Okay. Certainly for my piece of land, that's sorted. There's no issue there. That's already council land, and we've put more. We've changed some boundaries with the subdivision in there to accommodate a track above on the edge of the bank, so that we can get a walkway through there. No cost to council. As far as Marty, Daniel and Cameron are concerned, yes, they are giving up a bit of land. So I'm not sure whether they're potentially looking for an EBLs or just looking to do easements through their property, but they certainly want it to occur. So, and some stunning, I mean, certainly there's, both cases, they're by far the bigger parts of this walkway. And certainly Cameron's to put, you know, a 4 metre, 5 metre strip along the top of the bank all the way through. It's quite an undertaking of land. And the gully of Daniel's and Marty's is quite a number of hectares, but it's a stunning piece of forestry. Well,
thanks, Marty. Yeah, no, I can imagine. Councillor Coles.
Thank you, and thank you guys for your, and ladies, for your presentation. Really, no question, because it's really well detailed. Just looking at Google Maps here, the sand quarry. If you zoom in, you can see diggers and vehicles there. Is the sand quarry operational still? Is this probably an old photo? Or
the sand quarry is well and truly finished. It's been beautifully landscaped.
Oh, right.
And farmland is what you see from, we'll see from the trail.
Yeah, yeah. And you talked about the landowners. How many landowners?
Five.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Councillor Peter.
Thank you through the chair. A great presentation to you all. It's easy to listen to an idea, but it's far easier to say yes to a developed concept, which is what you've brought us. So well done there. My question's around at the school road junction between the walking track and the cycle track, I guess, is you'll get families sort of cycle up and then have to dismount if they wanted to go all the way to the end through the boardwalk. So you're looking at sort of putting some bike storage or racks or something. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, that's the idea at the moment, and what we've sort of put in our initial planning, a car park at that junction and the ability to lock up bikes, etc. The vision being if a family can cycle that couple of Ks from the village down to there, lock up their bikes, do the town a bit walk back, and then so a family with all ages of kids can make their way all the way to the end and back. Too far for me to walk, but if I biked half it, I'd be able to do that. So yeah, there was a lot of discussion initially around the nature of the trail and why different approaches would work or would not work, and the ecological nature of that bush section and the vulnerable landforms through there meant a wider grade 2 trail that's sort of got 2 or 3 formed meters was going to potentially do a lot of damage. And so that's how the vision of a walking only trail through there came about. It would be a real, well, it would just do too much damage to that vulnerable environment.
No, thank you, best wishes. Look forward to seeing you at the LCP.
Okay, I think I don't think there's any other more questions coming from the floor. So look, the idea, of course, is the easy part. It's the planning and the delivery. Of course, that's the hard part. But what I see in front of me now are some pretty determined people, and of course, the fact that you've already done a huge amount, the trust deed's already in place, those sorts of things, that is what's going to carry you through. So yeah, being highly organised, of course, and fitting into our council processes is going to take you afar. So I think Susan's already agreed that yeah, council is very, very supportive already. We want to definitely work with you and provide as much assistance as we can. So the LTP is our next sort of large opportunity for funding. So yeah, very, and obviously we're encouraging you to participate in that process, and we'll see you again early next year. Now we do have
Could I ask the question?
Certainly. Yep.
Will we be notified about the long-term plan presentation?
Absolutely. So that's our biggest kind of every 3 years we have a very large task in front of us where we go out to the entire Waipā district. So we'll be going out to every community. Often we have open days and things, but certainly you'll get a written request to come and speak. You've already indicated you want to. So Kirsty will be in touch with you regarding that. So Councillor St Pierre has moved the recommendation to receive the report. So if I can get a seconder, thank you, Philip Coles. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Felicity. All right, we'll just take just 30 seconds, guys, and then we're just going to move on to our district growth quarterly report. And then we'll take a break after that.
Yeah, so we'll do a resolution to exclude the minutes in the meeting.
That sounds good. Few minutes. So he's back online. Okay, so we're just going to move to our district growth quarterly report, and Wayne is here to present that to us.
Right. Well, good morning, everybody again. Kirsty is also going to help me in relation to this report, but I'll kick it off and deal with my parts of it first. So just one moment, self-sorted. So yeah, this is the district growth quarter report, 1st January through to 31 March, the 3rd quarter of financial year. It's an information report only, no decisions required by the committee. We'll take the report as read. There's a lot of information there, but I'll highlight the key matters. As I say, Kirsty will come and deal with the cover off the national, regional and the strategic planning local levels in section 3, but in the interim I'll crack on through crack on through the other parts of the report. In terms of the planning, district planning plan changes, so I'm looking at page 173 of your agenda, where we talk about all the various plan changes. Again, just really encapsulating an update really regarding all the status of those plan changes that we're working on. You have other contact in relation to progress of those plan changes in other forums. So I don't really have too much to say in relation to that, other than to say a lot of these plan changes are enabling further growth, be it residential or industrial developments. In terms of the resource consents, page 176, there's information there about recently heard applications for limited notified applications, information there about the numbers of resource consents processed. And when you look at the numbers, there's been a decrease in applications processed, 83 applications in this quarter, compared to 134 applications in the previous quarter. And the previous year quarter was 139. So a decrease in number of applications processed. We have processed all applications in 100% compliance with the timeframes. In LIM applications, page 177 of your agenda, 223 applications were processed last quarter, 234, and the previous quarter, 293. So it's been a trend down in terms of the numbers of applications that we've been getting in this financial year. So 293 to 234 and now 223 in terms of applications processed. Processed all within timeframes. Information in the report covers off infrastructural development summary, page 178 of your agenda. And it's interesting to note in there a comment from the team that there's been a significant number of engineering plans approvals in section 224 applications across the growth cells for active subdivisions. And that's generally what we expect in terms of this period of the year for 224 applications that come through. Development contributions, on page 179 of your agenda. So information there, we've done 42 DC notices issued in the quarter, $6 million worth, recovered just over $1 million. And what we're getting to is a number of DAs, development agreements. Developers are requesting a delay in payment from 224 stage to land sales. So some are finding it a bit tough in relation to the development market and just requesting a delay in terms of payment for the development contributions. We have done some work on as requested on a growth cell for, in this case, it's Cambridge North, looking at that growth cell, what level of development contribution has been received, the numbers of DC notices issued, the required revenue and the overall cost of that growth cell. So Tony Coots and Deborah from Finance, Deborah Fredericks, have done this work in relation to Cambridge North. They've said in here that for Cambridge North, you're looking at a $50 million outlay there in terms of costs, including interest costs. The DC revenue received for that growth cell has been $23.8 million. The DC notices issued to date is $17.7 million. The required revenue still yet to be received, $8.5 million, making up to that $50 million. And the information from their calculations is that land yet to be developed and HEUs determined, we're likely to recover all costs of the land remaining for development. So that's an example for Cambridge North. We'll focus on another growth cell for you in the next quarterly report. I think we're going to look at a Te Awamutu growth cell next. if there's any questions, just sing out as I go. So
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
do my best to answer. I don't have my team here, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of information and variety of topics, of course, covered in this report. So we'll take questions as we go, if that's all right. So Mike and then Marcus.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne, for the growth cell work you've been doing on the DCs and the capital expenditure. Is that proving useful or not to the organisation?
Yeah. Absolutely. It is useful information, and it's a useful information not only for this exercise, but for our upcoming review of our development contributions policy as well, and our development contributions requirements. So I think certainly for the finance team and for Tony himself, yeah, it is useful because it provides an overall view of the growth cell. So rather than just the reports coming through, for example, this committee asking for various funds associated with the outlays, it provides a framework about, well, what is the overall cost for that growth cell? What is the revenue that we've currently received? Is the revenue matching the costs? And that's the important thing. So yeah, I think it's a good indication for that type of planning. So
Good.
That answers your question.
Yeah, no, really pleasing to hear. And so it's anticipated that once you've fine-tuned the model, you'll be reporting that on all active growth cells.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a work in progress because there's some development contributions that are not all attributed to that growth cell. That does, you know, there might be, for example, Cambridge North, there might be contributions that are covered across the whole Cambridge environs. So there's a bit of work that Deborah needs to do in relation to working this information up. But yeah, I think it's been a useful exercise and one that I've set out to do as far as being chair of the project steering group for district growth. It was one of our key performance indicators for that group to actually identify what the costs and the revenues are for a particular growth cell. So this is part of that work.
Great. And just final question, just back to your point that developers are seeking relief from DCs at 224 through to land sales. In the development agreements, etc., is that sort of catered for, or are they looking for variations?
So we've done one variation for 3Ms, and that's been signed off at staff level, and it's a variation to the development agreement to provide some relief to in the C2 growth cell to allow for contributions to be paid at section sales rather than at 224. But still providing for an overall timeframe for full payment, which hasn't changed in the development agreement for that developer. It's September, October next year from memory.
And the developer's still wearing the interest cost for the extended period?
The interest costs on, sorry, on what?
If they're paying later.
Yeah, look, because we're not changing that extended period of time, then there's no interest issue. If we extended it beyond that period of time that's in the current development agreement, then yes, we'd be looking at that interest component, because it's really up to the developer to develop within that time frame, whether it's by way of section sales or 224. So whilst we haven't changed that finite period, there's no issue of interest. If there's going to be additional cost to the council, such as the interest, yes, we would be looking at that, and we've made that point plain.
Right.
Right. I'll just carry on.
Oh, did you have a question, Marcus?
Oh, right.
Okay, no, carry on, Wayne.
Okay. Where did I get to? So district development contributions. So then it was into building compliance. So there on page 180 of your agenda. 368 DCs issued in that quarter, including amendments. Just bear in mind the tables at the back are different in terms of whether they include amendments or not. So 368 building consents issued. Same period last year is a good indicator, 490. So we're down 122 applications. So another sort of indicator of, I guess, what's happening out there in the development world in terms of resource consents, limbs, building consents, they're all sort of tracking downwards in terms of the applications. But on the other side, we're issuing more code compliance certificates in the same period last year, 244 compared to 211 last year, up 33. So whilst we're doing a lot more work in the 224 space, we're doing a lot more work in the code compliance certificate space there. And in figure 5 on page 182 of your agenda, we've got the numbers of new dwellings by location. You can see that down across the district compared to the same quarter in last year as well. Monitoring and enforcement, I'll just take as read. Animal control, I'll take as read, other than to note that for registered dogs, around 9,407, unregistered were 127. So a really good outcome there, that we only have 1.3% of unregistered dogs currently on our books. The team has indicated in the report it is a good result, and it is. But we will be prioritising these unregistered dogs for the new registration year as well. And environmental health I take is read, including appendices. And then it was just really coming back to Kirsty's commentary around section 3, if you had anything there, Kirsty, and then we'll take final questions on that from there.
Through you, Madam Chair, really just available to respond to any questions that members may have. Thank you.
Okay, Marcus.
I'm just wondering, in the reports, when we refer to the plan changes, because we have so many at the moment, it'd be really good if the formatting is like plan change 21 and what the plan change is, because I'm finding with different documents I'm reading now, it's like, which plan change number is that? Because it seems to be a whole heap of them going through. That's just my personal view. But also on page 221, under check food availability operation.
So can I just clarify that first point? Because we do say under the plan changes what they are.
You do in this report, which is real handy.
Oh, right.
But
right.
I just think, like in other documentation where it's just plan change 13 or plan change 6, it'd be good to have what it is after as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Just so that we can, oh yeah, that relates to that.
Yes, yes, and the other corresponding point, I guess, is the growth cells as well. When we talk about C1 or C2 or C3, where those actually are, and I certainly make those points when I read reports. So I'll take that on board.
Yeah, and on 221 with the check food availability operation, is that to check that the premise is serving the required amount of food in regards to the liquor license? Because we haven't done any checks, and I'm wondering when was the last checks done, or do we do checks on that anymore? Sorry, I guess that might be more card thing.
Yeah, can you just highlight again which page that's on?
221 in diligence. Which is page 51 of the report.
Check food availability operations. Yeah, I'll come back to you on that point. Yeah, I don't have the answer on that one. Sure.
Right, are there any other queries? Yeah, Bruce.
Well, Wayne's just writing. I'll let him finish.
Yeah, no, I've got that.
Wayne, just any information on the Commissioner Phil Mitchell's 2025 the Harper Road. It's a private plan change.
Yeah, plan change 21.
That's quite big.
Yes.
Is he's looking at acceptance and further information? What does that mean? How far does? Could you get a comment if you could?
Sure. Okay, so we'll go back to yeah. So this is plan change 29. This is the proposed private plan change to rezone greenfield development from rural to residential. So one of the key decisions that need to be made before we even process an application is whether we formally accept the application for processing. And there's been some general concern in relation to whether it actually is one that should be accepted. We've put that decision out to Dr. Phil Mitchell as an independent commissioner. There has been a meeting held between council staff and legal advisors and the applicant in regards to that matter in front of Mr. Mitchell. All information now, as I understand, is now with the commissioner to make the decision on whether the council should accept the processing of the application and therefore go on and consider the merits of the application. We haven't yet had that decision yet from the commissioner.
Thank you, Wayne.
Any other queries? Lou.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Just with the plan change or the plan change of Global Contracting Solutions on Racecourse Road, I see that we're just waiting for information, the notification for public notification. This is quite a topical issue even with people, although it's got run below the radar. So I'm just wondering what the progress was on that and how far we're progressing.
Yeah, I don't have any further updates on that. The information that we put back to the applicant was that it would have to be a notified application. And we were still waiting to hear back whether the applicant wished to proceed on with the application. That's where my understanding the decision is. So it's not, the ball's really in the applicant's court about whether they want to continue on with their application and the processing of it by the council, but we've made it pretty clear to the applicant that that's a publicly notified application.
Thank you for that, Wayne.
All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to work through, or no, that's the end? Okay, no problem. There is a recommendation on page 171 to receive the report. So if there's no other queries, Mike Pettis happy to move, Lou Brown happy to second, all in favour? Carried. Thank you, everybody. All right. Hey, we're going to just move into excluding the public just for a short time because we've got confirmation of some minutes. So we'll do the resolution to exclude, please. Thank you, Mayor Susan. Thank you, Marcus. All in favour?